Miss Roberts, how are you doing today? Oh, can you hear
Hello.
me?
Hi.
Can you hear me okay?
Huh?
You can hear me okay.
Yep. Hello. Hi.
Hear me okay?
Huh?
You can hear me okay.
Yep.
Allison, how are you?
I'm doing fine.
Okay. Travis, you can
Yeah, yes, I'm doing fine. How you doing?
doing good, doing good. Okay. Travis, you can
Yeah, yes, I'm doing fine. How you doing?
doing good, doing good. Good morning.
What's up?
What's up?
All right. I s- Yay! I'm so glad to be able to be with all of you guys this morning in this conversation. Zachary, I didn't know if you went by Zach or Zachary. I apologize.
Well, I've been called a lot worse. Zach is fine.
Okay, I wanted to ask before I called you Zach in front of everyone, and you're like, I hate to be called Zach. So, great. All right. Deirdre. I've been practicing that for 20 minutes. Deirdre. Miss Roberts, did I pass? Okay, yay, yay. I think I can get Allison.
Yes.
I can get Travis. Good. Don't worry, I've only added 10 questions on here that are not on your list to play Stump the Teachers. So, no, I'm just joking. I would never do that to you in front of your peers. So that would not be nice, would it? So, and hey, Jake, I had to press my down scroll button here to be able to see you. Sorry about that. And so I hope that you guys will just look at this as having fun and enjoy the moment and appreciate you so much doing this and being a part of this. And so we'll have a kind of a discussion then about this. Any questions up front? Really appreciate you guys doing this and preparing for this and being able to really look at next steps with instruction. Ramel was just checking in on me to make sure I was doing what I was asked to do. I let her know yes. Well, I don't know if I'm doing what I'm supposed, but I said yes. So if she asked if this went well. You need to tell Ramel, yeah, everything went well. Yeah, it all went good. So, all right. So hopefully this gets us into kind of, I guess I was kind of needing today just to have something different than what we've been dealing with the last week. So even though it's Zoom, it's so good to see real life people. I don't know if you feel the same way or not, but it's just great to actually see faces. And when I say something, communicate, I get like a nod or a thumbs up, or just interaction is just like, I'm liking this. So I know that each of you have probably had your own challenges over the last week with this multi-disaster hazard that's going on here. So thank you so much for doing this, and that an opportunity to learn from each other about engagement. I don't know if we talk really about engagement enough, but when I think about career tech, I don't know if it gets any more engaging than career tech, right? So that's the one great thing. And there's 2 or 3 of you I've actually been able to see you at work. So I know the engagement that you have in your classroom. And it's pretty hard to work on HVAC if you're actually not using a tool and putting a skill to work, right, Travis? So
That's true.
so some of this is going to be too is how do you get that student then to that engagement part and to believe in themselves. So I'm really looking forward to that type of discussion and interaction with this group. And I think a lot of you are going to discuss and talk about there's really only way that you can do, and I know Deirdre, you've even talked about this before, is that the way that you have engagement really starts with building relationships. So I know each of you are going to be discussing that, and so you might talk about different ways. I know each one of you have a different way of building relationships, and I'm not sure that as instructors we always not one way fits everyone, right, about building relationships. So I think that's what's going to be unique with this group too, is that really from 5 different areas, and being able to talk about the different ways that you've had to learn how to build relationships with your students. Ramel said that she's going to, she's getting off that one and jumping on to this one, and then we'll be on YouTube, and everyone I think is going to be able to, I guess Kikio, we're already recording, so they'll jump on it. How many are on it so far, Kikio?
Hold on one second. Let me check.
Sorry, I was just curious.
No, you're fine. Two as of right now.
Yay! So no one's watching.
Yeah, no. It's on the website right now. It's already on it's been on there.
Good.
Wow.
I didn't say any bad words or anything. I haven't cussed or done anything.
We didn't talk about OSU losing this weekend. We didn't say anything bad.
Why every time that I'm on a conference call is there something discussed about OSU or OU football?
It's Oklahoma, state of Oklahoma.
No,
That's the only thing that
time.
matters. That's the only thing that matters is OU and OSU football.
So what happened to the 90s when we used to talk about SNU women's basketball or Oklahoma City University men's basketball team? There are other colleges in this area, Kikio.
True, they're not City Unit. They're now. I think they're the Stars now.
You're being recorded, by the way. I just want to make sure you know that. So be very careful in your wording. So Ramel, everyone's jumping onto YouTube.
They are in the process of switching over there now. Yes.
All right. So Ramel, when Kikio has like around 85 or above that have joined us, then we know we're good to go.
Okay, sounds good.
That was a question. I apologize.
Oh, sure, that'd be perfect. This is my first time ever doing any of this and this.
I think it's all of our first time ever. That's what makes us great. That's what makes us fun.
It's probably one of the most
maybe
things I've ever done in my life.
Well, I may have messed up. Jake, are you a YouTube star that I don't know about? Maybe Jake's a YouTube star I don't know about.
Yeah, we have double-digit followers for Metro STEM Math.
Oh,
Myself,
there you
and Colette. Now I've created 4 different Google accounts and subscribed with each of those accounts to up my numbers. But no, myself and Miss Colette really has carried the weight on the YouTube channel. But that's been a lot of fun making the videos. I don't know how good they are compared to other algebra 2 instructional videos, but at least
well, Jake, I'll yeah, I didn't realize that. So I guess we could start doing that then. Each one of you push your YouTube channels today, so you can up your numbers. I've tried to do that with my Twitter account, but I'm not getting any more Twitter followers. So my son did the other day. Notice I think I hit 500 or something. He's like, "Hey, Dad, you're up to 500 now." And I'm like, "Yeah, thanks, son. I appreciate that. I think he's the only one that cares about my Twitter count, dude." So Travis may have 1,000 Twitter. Travis, you got 1,000 followers on your Twitter account?
I probably got like 100, maybe. That's it.
So if we can add to our
I can
Twitter.
follow you now since I know you have a Twitter.
I do. It's SUPT, Superintendent A. Collins.
Okay.
SUPT. Hey, Ramel, you could put that on the. Hey, that's a good idea. How about everyone put their Twitter accounts on the chat? That's a good
I
idea.
will pass on that. I don't get on my Twitter very often, and no.
Okay.
I'm going to pass on the opportunity, but I appreciate you.
I'm trying to help. Deirdre's probably got 2,000, knowing her. No?
Okay, so I'm going to introduce you first, Aaron, and then I'm going to introduce each of our panelists by campus site. So I'll start with ACC and work down to STEM.
Did we
and then
check on Kakio to see how many we have? Kakio, how many we got now? He's verifying.
And
There
then
were 9 on there now. It keeps bouncing. I think everybody's having internet problems
yeah.
because at one point it was up to 17 and then it jumped to 25 and then it dropped back down.
Okay.
People are having internet problems,
We
but
had a
they can
lot,
always go back. It's streaming, so it'll be there for them
Okay.
to back up and watch.
And Kakio, we actually had 90 up to 96 on our last Zoom meeting. So,
Yeah, we did.
Nice.
So it was great. So Ramel, we're good to go ahead and start. It's what you're telling me, and I need to be quiet and you do your thing, is what you're saying.
So I'll introduce you. I'll introduce all of our panelists, and then I will pass it to you to start the moderation of the discussion, if that works.
Sounds great.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. I appreciate all of you for doing this. You all are fantastic participants and brave souls, and I appreciate you on this journey with me. So I just need to know when we're ready, and I can.
Kakio says we're videoing and ready to go.
Okay, fantastic. Okay. All right. Good morning, Metro Technology Centers. I appreciate you all joining us this morning for this student engagement panel discussion. Mr. Collins, our superintendent, will be our moderator for today's discussion. Mr. Collins joined us in July, and he has been an educator for 21 years. Each site has a representative that they will be discussing the questions that Mr. Collins asked about student engagement, and I would like to introduce each one of them. Our first panelist is Zachary Cooksey. He is at our aviation campus and he teaches aviation maintenance. He is entering his 2nd year here with us at Metro Technology Centers. Then we have Miss Allison Beckner. She is at our Health Careers campus. She teaches radiologic technology. It's a little bit of a mouthful. She's been with Metro Technology Centers for 7 years. Then we have Miss Deirdre Roberts. She teaches graphic design and she is at our ITC, our Information Technology Center, or campus. And she is in her 2nd year with us here at Metro Tech. And then we have Mr. Travis Smith. He teaches our climate and energy controls and HVAC at our South Bryant campus, and he has been with us for a few years. And then we have, lastly, is Mr. Jake Thomas. He is with our STEM campus. He teaches Algebra 2 and the Gateway to Technology classes, and those are at the Millwood Middle School campus. He's been with us for 7 years as well. And just to clarify, Mr. Smith has been with us for 3 years. So with not any further delay, I will pass this over to Mr. Collins. Mr. Collins, thank you, and I look forward to the discussion we're going to have today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ramel, and thank you for getting this together for us in this unique environment that we're living in. Some of us shamelessly will promote our Twitter accounts and YouTube feeds. So my Twitter account is SUPTA Collins, at Superintendent A Collins. That is my Twitter account. And in many of these discussions, I think you're going to find out that there are some YouTube channels that people have. I want you to be able to share those and tell people about those YouTube channels. Also, recently, Kakio has been adding to the Metro Tech YouTube channel. And so we can also do a way to be able to do those channels through the main Metro Tech channel. So great learning, great opportunities that we have. So grateful to our panelists and them taking time out to forever be on YouTube and be YouTube famous right here. And so Ramel will be looking for the next group to be YouTube famous, because we know this is just going to absolutely go viral. And so for those that are looking at wanting to be YouTube famous, when we do our next PD, you can get with Ramel and be YouTube famous. So really looking for this opportunity and looking forward to discussing about involvement and what that looks in the classroom. So I will ask a question and then call on each one to answer a question, and then we can have some dialogue with that as well. But I'll start with Zach, and each one will get an opportunity to answer. And in the first way that we're going to look at this question and ask this question is this. Describe, so we go into your classroom, describe the characteristics of a highly engaged classroom environment. What are those characteristics and what do they look like, Zach?
So I would say the main characteristic, speaking for myself, would be high energy. I love a high energy classroom, being that, and I'm not talking about just from myself, I mean from the students as well, because it allows us to feed off of each other. And it honestly gets me even more excited. I love seeing the excitement in the students as well. I've also learned that every student learns differently. So you have to kind of realize how each individual student learns, whether it be a Kahoot, whether it be another sort of activity, more hands-on. Really, I mean, I would say variety is what I would say in my classroom is the main characteristic of a highly engaging classroom environment. And high excitement, energy.
Allison, how about for you? I like that thought of energy. How about for you, Allison? What are your thoughts?
Helps if I unmute, doesn't it? My thoughts on that were students interacting in a deep discussion. You know, when you walk in the room and you hear everybody's on task, they're all talking about the assignment and discussing it deeper than what even the teacher had gone into, and everybody getting their hands on it. You know, that's what I love about Metro Tech is we're very hands-on. And so that hands-on learning opportunity, you know, going through the different lab stations that we have, seeing students assisting other students with the learning material, you know, that's kind of what comes to mind on a really engaged class.
Thanks, Allison. Deirdre, what are your thoughts?
For my classroom, the determining factor is the activity, what they're working on. If we're working on content building or we're building a foundation, then you're going to have a really quiet classroom. If we are working on practical application, you're going to see a lot of movement. You're going to see them applying the things that they've learned. And since we're not all on stair steps, you're going to have different types of engagement going on depending on where they are in the content or in the curriculum. And so that's what the characteristics of my classroom is going to look like. You're going to see either some students deeply engaged in content, learning, or putting tools in their tool belt, or you'll see them actually applying those tools.
Thank you. Travis and then Jake.
What I would say is for mine is creating a family environment that we're all in this together. And I believe that starts with me as the instructor, making each student feel like they're valuable and appreciated. And so I like to create that atmosphere the first day when they first come in. And also my experienced students, I like to team those up with my first year students to guide them along the curriculum and how to work the labs, kind of be my assistants in some ways. And also just creating that family environment, I think is very important for me. And because we're going to get into relationships later, but I think that forging those positive relationships, that they're really lifelong relationships. And so I look at that starts with me as an instructor, having the right attitude every morning when I come to class, and saying that to keep my students being positive and being valuable to the workforce. So that's my environment.
Thanks, Travis. Jake?
Yes. So when I think about highly engaging classrooms, I want to ask two questions. Are they smiling and are they working? So in regards to smiling, I try to model this. So at the beginning of each class, I will say, hello, Eric. Hello, Elijah. Hello, Tamira. And I will smile at them. I will recognize them, typically ask them about their day. And I do that for every individual student. So as soon as they come in, there's contact. But in regards to students' engagement, when it comes to smiling, are they helping each other? Is there peer tutoring happening? Are they asking me questions and showing that there's some interest level? And then I usually start each class by doing some type of game. And then if we have like a few minutes to kill at the end of class, I'll have some type of icebreaker type game. Are they participating in those games? Secondly, are they working? It's not enough that they just smile, but are they working? So when I'm going through a presentation, are their eyes focused on me? Are they taking notes? Are they actively like engaged through their body language and through their work? Are they asking me to do more work or to work ahead? I would say that was highly engaging. And then are they achieving good grades? So I would consider B's or better would be sort of highly engaged classroom.
Thanks, Jake. I'm going to go to a different question because it kind of came up. So I'm going to go to how does relationship building play a role in student engagement? And Jake, I'm going to start with you in here just a moment. But I kind of, as Jake was talking about, we do hope that that was a good example there is that you're taking notes. Can't quite see that on my screen, but I'm taking notes here. And so I wanted to kind of hit some highlights of what this group said. I appreciate so much you sharing in this. I heard high energy, excitement of students. I heard student-led, deep discussion, student-led. Students asking students, activity, context, tools in the toolbox, a family or team environment, and that it starts with me. And I like the idea too, not only does it start with me, but it starts on the first day, on day number 1. Peer to peer. I love the idea. Are they smiling? Not only are they smiling, are they working and smiling at the same time? That's really when you know you got engaged, right? When they're smiling and working at the same time. And then too, that idea of looking at body language and are they asking good questions? Those are great nuggets that I learned from each of you in this process. So the next question then is, how does relationship building play a role in student engagement? Jake, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say relationship building is vital for most students. I think you'll have like a small handful of students that, whether the teacher's a jerk or the nicest person, they're going to do the work and they're get it done. But for most students, they need their teacher to show some effort in building relationships. And I would say relationship building is a necessary skill for all teachers to do well. I've been fortunate enough to have some mentor teachers here that are excellent at it. So when I first started, Tessa Martin was my mentor teacher, and she's maybe the best teacher I've ever been around, and especially in regards to relationship building. She had a way of relating to any type of person, regardless of age, regardless of ethnicity, anything, intelligence level. She's able to connect with them. And then when I moved to STEM, Mary Tran and Clarence Britt were sort of my mentor teachers. And Miss Tran has a much different personality than Miss Martin, but her quiet attitude, her sweetness and kindness had a way of connecting with students that I had trouble connecting with. Mr. Britt, high energy guy, very funny, was able to connect in different ways. And so what I've learned through teaching is that regardless of your personality, whether you have a really loud, boisterous one or you're more reserved and quiet, you kind of have to find your niche and stay true to your giftings and abilities and just connect with students where you're at and where they are. And sometimes it takes a little more effort to find points of connection, but when you build those relationships and when you're doing it continually throughout the year, I think for most students, you'll see positive fruits from those efforts.
Thank you, Jake. We'll go in reverse order. Travis?
Yes, I'm kind of on the same, thinking the same mindset that Jake did. But the first thing I think about the industry that I'm in, it's all based on relationships, and the relationships that we make throughout our industry is vital. And so I always want my students to follow my example. And I carry myself a certain way where they can go out and be successful in the workforce. And so I think that those relationships are very important to me. I call them my sons and daughters because I take it that personal. And I think to have those kind of, you have to take it like a family member, almost to like they're your sons or your daughters. You have to take it to that extent. And I think that's how you can become more effective because you care more about the person than you do necessarily maybe a job, or you want to see the person successful. And also showing that you care and letting them feel like they're a part of it. I tell my students I'm probably the nicest guy in HVAC. Most HVAC guys are rough, so very rough around the edges. And so I try to give them a different environment. I try to show them something different, but I still want to tell them that, it's going to be a lot of rough people you're going to have to deal with. But in my class, I'm not going to treat you that way. I'm going to treat you like a professional because I want you to be a professional. And so I say, follow my example. And that's even by the way I carry myself, what I say, the words that I use. I make sure that I'm being professional everywhere I go. So my students can see that Mr. Smith was an example. And that's my biggest, I just try to lead by example. That's how the environment, that's my responsibility. I think I always say I'm a reflection of somebody that taught me. Whether they taught me the wrong way or the right way, I'm always going to be a reflection to them. So I just try to make sure that I'm reflecting to my students the right way. So,
thank you, Travis. Deirdre?
So the question was, how do you build, what role does relationship building play in student engagement? And so in my mind's eye, trust is the foundation of the entire engagement process. For me to even be able to learn you have to trust me. And so then that starts with them, because lots of times students watch you before you know they're watching you. And so for me, it's always treating them like they are my equal, with limitations and boundaries clearly set in place. Yes, I am the teacher. Yes, you are the student, but I value your opinion and I value you as a person. And so, and that starts with small conversations. Oh, how was your weekend? Hello, hi, how are you? Oh, I love that, those earrings. Oh, that's a great hat. Your ponytail is super cute. Just little bitty things that you say to them, then they'll begin to talk to you and they'll tell you about themselves. And then you can use that in a conversation. So say, for instance, if we're doing a Zoom meeting, I'll say, oh, I ran across something that you would love, blah, 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 whoever blah, blah, blah is. Well, now everybody wants me to know something that they love, so I can put that in the Zoom meeting. And so now I have their, one, they're going to be listening for their name. They're going to be listening for something that I said about them. So they're fully engaged on Zoom. They're jumping on Zoom early so they can talk. And so now engagement changes. It's no longer me trying to get you engaged. You're engaging with me. And so sometimes on days when teachers, all of us don't feel quite up to par, those things can be kind of a bit of daunting. But I try to make sure I'm, constantly upbeat, trying to, make them know that they are important to me, and that trust stays intact. And so what happens is if they're fully engaged, redirection goes away. I no longer have like discipline issues. I don't have to worry about you not being engaged in what we're working on. So for me, trust and just an overall passion for the student.
Thank you. Thank you, Deirdre. Allison.
Yes. So when I thought about relationship building, to me, that was building it on mutual respect. I think that's a big one for our classroom because I teach all adults. And, some might be younger than me, some might be older than me. And so it's a matter of showing them respect and hopefully getting that respect back to you. And I found that students will work harder for a teacher that they respect. And that doesn't mean, that you're their best friend. It just means that there's a level of respect there and again, it comes with the trust that Deidre talked about. And, they appreciate having someone who shows that they care and that's there to help them strive harder. And, just so that way they know that you want them to succeed. And when they know that you're wanting them to succeed, that makes them want to rise to that.
Thank you, Allison. Zach.
So I think building a relationship is extremely important because it kind of echoing what everyone else said, it gains trust and respect from the students. I want them to realize that I'm there for them and this isn't just a job for me. I kind of make it on a personal level. If there's anything they ever need to talk about, I always lend my ear to them if they want to talk to me. I also try to build a relationship with them so that they can break through these social anxiety barriers they may have. I noticed a lot of students don't really like speaking up in front of the class. So I really like to kind of gain their trust and respect. I make it kind of on like a personal level, I guess you could say, in my classroom. I keep it almost family oriented, like Mr. Smith mentioned earlier. And this kind of allows them to engage better throughout the classroom.
Absolutely, Zach. And so from that, I'm going to ask Deirdre to start this conversation because you brought this up, Deirdre, and we're going to go to question: what changes have you made to engage students in a virtual or blended learning model? Because you started kind of discussing that, Deirdre, and before you discussed that, some of the key nuggets that I got from our discussion that just then was relationships. Having a mentor teacher is great for teachers to have someone to lean on. Find points of connection. Industries based on relationships. Be a good example. Show you care. That vulnerability that we discuss at times that good leaders have. Be a professional. Trust, a foundation of trust. Set a boundaries. Value. Trust, stay intact, and that there's no discipline issues. Mutual respect, whether it's an adult or a teenager, having that mutual respect, but within that boundaries, there for them, personal level. And so Deirdre, and talking about that, you went an approach and you started talking to us about some of the things that you're doing with engagement in virtual or blended learning. So I want to start with you, and then we'll go to Allison and Zach. But Deirdre, tell us more about that. What changes have you made to engage students in a virtual or blended learning model?
Okay, so my background, I come from Oklahoma City Public Schools, Centennial, and if you're familiar with Centennial, it was very migratory. It's no longer, but it was very migratory. And so I had students that were in and out, and it just dawned on me that their education shouldn't be predicated whether or not they're sitting right in front of me. That should not be it shouldn't be teacher centered. It shouldn't be even school centered. And so I began to use the tools that we had as a district. We had Google Classroom. So I would copy the textbook, which I know you're not supposed to do, but we would copy the textbook and put it on Google Classroom. They can do that on their phone. I made different things we went outside the classroom, as it were. And so here at Metro Tech, it was just a natural kind of thing to do that, to start with Google Classroom. And then when the pandemic hit, my students didn't miss a beat because we'd already been working in that. That was part of my pedagogy. That was part of everything that we did was your assignments are on Google Classroom. You don't have to ask me what
the environment you had already created.
Yeah, you don't have to ask me what your next assignment is. It's already there. But because of student engagement and because I needed like a tracker, I would always like put in some misinformation, or I would put in something where if you clicked it, the link was dead. So they'd have to come to me and say like, hey, Miss Roberts, something's wrong. Okay, well, let's problem solve. How can we get that? I'm acting like I'm doing something big and I'm really not, but to make sure that they were continuing along with what they were doing. So some of the changes I've made with Zoom, that's a little harder because you're like looking at them and they're looking at you, and then you don't know whether or not to tell them to make their camera come on. And some students are in a situation where you don't want their camera on. And then, there's sometimes our Zooms went from like 5 minutes to now they're like an hour. On Fridays, we do community. I go on site and I go with a community partner, whether he's installing something or there was a student out at Signs Now who went through Kaimichi graphic design program. We sat with her, and there's just different things that we do. And so they're able to ask questions. Sometimes my advisory boards will jump on and the students can ask questions. And so the Zoom has taken on a life of its own. We meet every day from 9 to 1, and even during the power outage, they were trying to jump on. I'm like, guys, I don't have power. We can't talk right now. But I'll do it on my phone. I've come up with ways that I don't miss those meetings because it is vital. We did that all through March up until May, and then we picked it right back up in August. So we haven't missed a beat. Virtual has been a smooth transition for graphic design.
Thank you for sharing. Allison.
Yeah, so some of the changes that we made is we started recording our presentations so that way students would have those available online, and we turned them into interactive lessons. So they would listen to parts of the video, then they would be able to answer questions and things about the video to make sure that they're staying engaged with that. But even though we've had all these changes, we still are holding them to the same high standard with clear expectations. But with the blended model, students are not held to specific certain class times now. So, we give them deadlines and we hold them accountable for the material, but there still is a little bit of more of a wiggle room. There's a little bit more freedom. And so it puts the accountability on the students to still accomplish what they need to accomplish, but kind of give the student more control over their learning on when it's going to take place. You know, especially with teaching adults, and several of them have children, and so they're trying to help their children get through their classes during the day. So then, you know, we try to keep that in mind and say, you know, hey, just get it done before midnight. You know, it's still due the same day, but it gives them that extra leeway and gives them that responsibility for their learning.
Thanks, Allison, and we're all living that. I love the idea from, you know, Deirdre talking about, you know, problem solving and having a routine, and then Allison, you adding that then to that about, you know, keeping accountable, but also understanding we're living in a different life right now. Zach, Travis, and then Jake. Zach.
So one of the changes that I made is, personally, I really like to challenge my students. And one of the changes that I made, and I've actually adopted it into my in-person classes as well, because we had such good success with it, was I did a kind of a role reversal, to where I gave the students an assignment or a project, and they would teach me on it. They would, I would become the student basically, and I would ask questions. I would do all that stuff, and I had really good success with it. Sometimes it would be something as simple as a single component, and they would tell me about the component, what it does, what's its purpose, how it works. Sometimes it would be a complete system, and they would run me through the system. Like I said, I had really good success with it, and I've kind of adapted it into my in-person classes as well, because I enjoyed it so much.
Thanks for sharing, Zach. Travis, and then Jake.
Yes, I'd like to, I think I don't have the same experience as Deidre had in March. I'm pretty much wasn't ready for remote learning. So, but what I did do, half of my courses were on e-learn, were on e-learn. But I spent the majority of that time getting things online, and realized that I didn't have enough curriculum online. So I had to go in and kind of reevaluate our online tools. So I end up adding things to the curriculum. One thing I like that I did do is that I kind of did what Zach did, post some videos, and I kind of let them give me the answers to the questions, pretty much about a system, pretty much. But this year, I think the virtual, it's been okay, because I have adult and high school students, and my high school students are here only a couple days a week, but my adult students are here every day. So it's a little bit different. So on Wednesdays is where we do our virtual days, and everybody does the virtual days that day. But I think it's been kind of tough, because my high school students, they do virtual all week, and trying to motivate them to do virtual on my day, it's always kind of hard to get them up. You know, everybody's camera's off, but I'm definitely open to ideas to how to improve that. One thing about it, teaching HVAC, it's hard to show them, you can show them so many videos. And so, but what I do really impress upon my students to the day that they are here is that I need you to be 100% engaged when you hear, because we may talk about it on the remote part of it, but that next day we're in class, we're going to be hands-on doing it. And then on those virtual days, we're going to discuss what we actually did in class. And I think that's has made the virtual a little bit better, because now we can actually say, hey, if we did something on Monday or Tuesday, we talk about it on Wednesday, and they go through how the operation works. And so they actually have done it, instead of just watching a video and be like, they don't have an idea what they actually did. So it's hard to get virtual with an HVAC, but we do our best. I know there is some interactive learning tools out here. I haven't investigated them any, but I'm open to anything. But I think the more they can touch the stuff, the better. I just feel like the days we have them here, we gotta take that time. We gotta really pound and say, hey, we gotta take advantage of the time we got. And one thing that if I could say, things are a lot faster. The high school students, they have to learn a lot faster now, because it's not as much of one-on-one time that you usually had with them before. And so I tell my guys, from 5 days a week to 2 days a week, it's a lot different. And so you're gonna have to be and hopefully we can. And so what I've created is something that every week there is a hands-on thing that has to be done. Like it has to be done. And I want them to spend their whole class time doing that. No virtual, no on the computer during that time of the week when they're here in class. So you just have to take advantage of the time we got. So.
Hey, Travis, I appreciate you answering that the way that you did, and your vulnerability, saying, hey, we weren't there yet from online. I had to reevaluate the way I was doing things. I had to reevaluate curriculum. I had to add some more curriculum because I'm not used to this environment. So Travis, thanks for doing that. And because I think, for myself, how do you move to a new district and build trust and get to know everyone and in this new virtual environment? And so it takes some adjusting and changes. So thanks for sharing that. Jake?
Yeah, so some of the changes that I've made, so I have used Google Classroom in the past, and so I just had to learn how to get a little bit more proficient in that. Thankfully, we have a couple of Google Classroom experts at the STEM Academy, Miss Upton and Miss Herndon, who were really helpful with that. But the biggest change with my algebra classes is that myself and Miss Collette created a YouTube channel in which we're just recording all of our presentations, and then we're just posting those into the Google Classroom assignment. I think that's been pretty effective as far as leaving the students without excuse for knowing how to do the work. We post the Google Slides presentation, and then we post the video of us doing it, and then have additional helps that we've included in there. We sent out a survey before fall break asking the students to give some input. So that's something that is new, trying to have some in-semester evaluations of our teaching so that we can make adjustments. And so one of the adjustments that we've made to our YouTube channel is, instead of just posting us presenting the presentation, we've also had the students message us specific questions from the homework they're struggling with. And then we create an additional video going over that. But that's been something that's really been enjoyable to do. Another thing that I've changed is that I'm really big on teaching the students rhythms of work and rest. And so just even like basic, we're at school Monday through Friday, work really hard Monday through Friday, so that on Saturday and Sunday, you can relax and rest. You come to school, you work hard for 3 hours, and then you get, a 30-minute lunch break where you can disconnect. I've kind of changed that rhythm to where in the past, if a student emailed me at like 7:30 p.m., I wasn't going to respond to that message. Whereas now during COVID, I want to show them that, hey, I'm really engaged in your education process. I really care about you. Let me respond quickly. So I've just tried to make a concerted effort outside of school hours to respond very quickly to messages they send on Google Classroom. And then finally, with my classroom at Millwood, the Gateway to Technology class, that class is basically all hands-on stuff. And particularly this semester, there's an emphasis on robotics, and there's materials there that the whole semester is basically them building mechanisms and little robots. Well, they were 100% online the first 9 weeks. And so I had to essentially realter or even recreate the curriculum and find other sort of hands-on projects that they could do. So instead of using the gears and mechanisms that I have in classroom, I just found a couple of YouTube videos of like how to make a simple gear train using bottle caps and toothpicks. And then as far as them presenting it, instead of having them present on Zoom, I used a platform called Flipgrid, which some of you may be familiar with. Flipgrid ended up being excellent for presentations because you give them a time limit, like 1 minute or 90 seconds, and it shuts it off. They can present, watch it, see if they like it, and then post it. Or if they don't like it, they can redo it. And I've had a lot of positive feedback from several students who are typically really nervous in class to present. And then with Flipgrid, because they're able to do it multiple times and get it just like they want, they've really enjoyed it. So I'll probably implement that as a way to present, even once we go back to 100% in person.
That's cool, Jake. You're tapping into their like social media thing. That's so awesome.
I definitely am writing that down, and that's what's great about these questions. I'm going to ask one more question, and the question that I want to ask is, what has been your most successful approach to student engagement in your instruction? And I want to end with that question, but I do want to hit some highlights of what we discussed there. And Deirdre, are you using Flipgrid as well?
No, I haven't used Flipgrid.
So another tool in our toolbox.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Jake.
Awesome. And that's what this is about, and learning, is that we learn from each other. So here's some things that I learned within this engagement in this new format of education that we have. One is that we're all in this together, and we can all learn from each other. I think the second thing that I really learned from this communication and conversation that we had is finding different ways to teach, whether it's an environment that you have a lot of teenagers or an environment in which you have adults, and then being able to transfer that and to even shift and to understand that. So problem solving, having a routine, recording presentations, keeping them accountable, challenging students, role reversal, have courses on eLearn and getting things online, having an opportunity to review current curriculum and adjusting as needed. Be 100% engaged, saying that expectation, whether it's in person or whether it's in this type of environment that we're learning on today. Respond quickly. Again, reminds me of what was spoken earlier about that respect and building trust. That you can be in a virtual environment and still have hands-on projects. That there are also ways to use new tools that we're learning about called Flipgrid. And so that really great nuggets there that all of you discussed. So then that last question, and we'll start with Zach and then go to Allison, and in that order. And so the final question then is, what has been your most successful approach to student engagement in your instruction?
So I would say my most successful approach would be to let the student really take the lead when doing, like, say, a project. For instance, whenever we are taxiing an airplane, I let them do everything from beginning with the walk around of the airplane, see what they can find, see if they can find anything wrong with the airplane, from starting the airplane themselves. I kind of just sit back, and until they're going to do something wrong or potentially dangerous, I let them take the lead, because that's how they're going to learn the most. So really, like I said, I think my approach would be to let them take the lead when they're in charge.
Zach, I would say with an airplane may scare you absolutely to death at times, but you realize that they're not going to learn unless they try.
Exactly. And, you know, and it's not even necessarily even taxiing an airplane. It could be a small project too, but I give them the opportunity to learn, whether it be big or small. And like I said, I just let them take the lead, and I don't give my input unless it's needed.
If anyone's asking or anyone thinking about this, so that's the number one, Zach, of student engagement. Number one is student-led. And each one of you have shared that in one way or another. Thank you so much, Zach. Allison.
I had a couple things come to mind. The first one is relating the material to real life situations. You know, something that, you know, might be new to them, but if you just say, well, think of it like this, and relate it to something that's very common to them that they have experienced before, to help make those connections. And the other thing I thought of is, you know, even as adults, they're so afraid of failure. And so we encourage students to try again, even if they weren't successful the first time, showing them that failure is just a part of learning. And it's okay if you went in there. And that's what lab is all about is, yeah, you got it wrong this time. Go in there, try it again, see if you get it right that second time. And then they remember that mistake. And so that way out in the real world, when they have a real patient, they remember the mistake they made and they don't make that mistake again. It's all about telling them, hey, that's just a part of it. Everybody makes mistakes. Get in there, try that again.
Thanks, Allison. And so that term you may hear from an instructional standpoint that relate to real life, build for transfer or build to transfer. And a great example. Thank you. Deirdre, Travis, and then Jake. Deirdre?
Okay. So my most successful approach to student engagement as an instructor would have to be one, building the trust. Trust for me is foundational. They have to trust that I know my subject matter. And so high energy, getting excited about when they learn something new. Now, I may have already seen it and I may already know it, but I get excited when they learn something new. Again, the missing information, I leave stuff out so then they can tell me, oh, Ms. Roberts, did you know? So now I have a strat, they are now thinking that they've taught me something. And so if you're looking at the hierarchy, because I always do like a point system, 0, I don't know anything, 1, because like in engagement, if we're going over content, if you hold up a 0 finger hand like this, then I know you don't know anything. We need to cover it again. If you're a 1, you know a little bit, but we need to talk a little more about it. 2, I know it, but I need some practice. 3, I got it. 4, let me teach somebody else. And so when they're at a 4, they're teaching me. And so we've moved Marzano's. I couldn't think of his name, but the Marzano's scale. And so that's what I use. I don't have it posted in my room because we're new and I'm still kind of moving, but I post that in my room and it seems kind of elementary on the onset, but it gives my students who are traditionally introverts. Most graphic designers are introverts and you have to protect their ability to engage with you while others are looking. And so there's a way for them to do that is just the hand. And if the 0 is embarrassing, they can do a small 0 where only I can see. And so I'm protecting their integrity, 1, and their willingness to learn. Because if I know they don't know something, then I can reinforce it. And I tell them all the time.
You're not going to embarrass one of your students.
Oh, never. No, that's not.
Yeah, that's a good
one. I do missing information, also self-stimulation. Like if there's something that they want to know, I don't have any problems with deviating from our curriculum. If it's something that you want to learn, if we have the tools here and it's going to help you, then yes, let's learn that. Mild pressure. I do give a mild pressure, like, okay, we have a deadline. As a graphic designer, deadlines are huge. If you tell your client you're going to have it done by 2 o'clock on Tuesday, it needs to be done by 1 o'clock on Monday. And so we talk about deadlines. Our classroom models the real world. I'm bringing in live work. We're going to be working with companies that are non-for-profits mostly, because they need the help and we need the experience. And our motto is we get it right because we do it 5 times. So I give them this is a safe, and I tell them too, this is a safe space for you to make a mistake. In the real world, it's going to cost you money, but in here, you're fine. If you didn't get it right the first time, let's do it again and again and again until you get it right, until you're comfortable. I do, I've worked a bunch with students that are on like IEPs and have learning disabilities or have issues when it comes to gaining or understanding content. So I use academic games to build confidence. So once they figure out they have everything they need inside of them to do the job, then I don't have any issue with them trying new things. So we use games, non-consequential engagement. Everything that we do, there's no consequence. Nobody's gonna say, oh my God, you got that wrong. It's not an issue. It just is what it is. If you got it wrong, like we've been working with our laminators, and if you say laminator in here, it is a cuss word, because we've had community partners, at least 2, come in and they're sweating bullets trying to get it figured out. But the laminator for us is like, we don't want to touch it, but we are approaching it because it's something that's part of our industry. It's a huge piece. I'm looking at replacing it because I think it is just something wrong with it. But understanding our equipment, getting them to touch the equipment, like what Travis said, getting them to do, to understand that if I touch it, it's not going to fall apart. And even if it does, I can put it back together. So
Figure it out.
Physical movement in the classroom. We don't just stay in our spots. Get up, move around, get comfortable with your space, because the more comfortable you are with your space, the more you're going to engage it, the more you're going to want to learn what it does. Let's see what else. I have notes. So I also do like unusual information, trends, things that they can see when they're driving or riding in or, you know, like right now we're working with 2020 trends, and it's really huge to see like chalkboard. You'll see them, the use of the retros, and there are 14 of them that they're coming, Miss Roberts, I saw this, or they'll text me a picture of something they saw. And so it's just my engagement strategies are all over the board. It just depends on whatever works for that student. I have 30 students and I have 30 different engagements, and you know, keeping track. Like I have one student who I have to monitor my response time. If I ask him a question, it's going to take a good 5 minutes for him to answer me, but I have to be patient enough to wait for him to answer me. But then I have others that want to jump right in and answer it right away. And so I have to monitor my questions and answers. There's so many engagements, so many things that you can do with your students. And sometimes you just make them up on the fly. It's not anything that okay, look, a broke clock is right twice a day. So in my mind's eye, you know, we as teachers, if you care enough and you pay attention, engagement kind of comes as you are teaching them everything you know. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. That was great. And Travis, and then Jake, and then we'll wrap up. Travis?
I kind of I think this is a great question. I've got a lot on this, but I'm gonna give you the short version. I think the first thing that I do is I want my students to become critical thinkers. One thing about HVAC, you have to be a problem solver. You have to be able to think very quickly. And so the first thing I teach my students is that I believe is positive is that where do you start? Where do you start? And a lot of times they don't know where to start. And so we establish, what do you do first, second, third, fourth? I'm pretty sure Zach kind of teaches, you got to start somewhere, right? You got to start somewhere. And so I think creating that environment that every week I want them to be able to tell me something they learned every week. Almost like a reflection. Every Thursday or Friday, we do a reflection and we go around and everybody speaks about what they learned this week. And it doesn't have to be related to our class. It could be related to what they learned in school, at home, what they saw on TV. And I think that helps build more relationships because you kind of get to see what a person really enjoys doing. Another thing I would say, I try to create an atmosphere where it's like the industry. And that the problems that you're going to face in the industry is going to be, we're going to create that problem here. And so I tell my students, I make things very simple. I said, we have one job. We got one job to keep people warm in the winter and cool in the summer. But it's a lot that goes in there between that. And so so I give them the end of it before we go through before we get to the end of it. It's like, okay, but this is what makes it work, right? And this is what makes cooler. This is what makes hot air. And if these things don't work, then you have to figure them out. And so critical thinking is a major thing for us. That's a major for our success. Like if we can fix it fast and correctly the first time, then we're able to be more successful in our industry. And so that's what I try to develop, critical thinking, where they can problem solve, be a problem solver, and because those are the technicians going to be the most successful, and also those are going to be the ones that get the most pay. And so I try to I want all my guys to be thinkers, to know how to think through problems and solve problems, because we ain't got one job. And a lot of things, well, another thing, I try to make the curriculum simpler. I try to give it to something they could understand. So I do a lot of relationship to cars and engines. I try to give them really simple comparisons. Let's say if we see a compressor, most people don't know what a compressor is, but I say it's just like a car engine. Just look at it like that's the engine that pumps the refrigerant through, okay? And the refrigerant is the antifreeze, right? So oil in your antifreeze mixing, you got a problem, right? You got a bad engine, okay? So it's the same exact thing. The compressor doesn't take refrigerant inside of it, or you're gonna burn it up. You're gonna wash all the oil off. So just like a car engine, so you give them something they can relate to and makes it more simpler. I think that makes it where they can absorb a lot more of the information. It don't seem so complex. So making things simpler, I just try to make it where anybody can understand it. And I always believe that if you don't do this as a career, you at least know how to do certain things. You can change your filter. You can do certain things in your home that will save you money. So I look at it's all of the experience. You're going to learn something from my classes, from resumes, from whatever. And so it's more than HVAC. It's the whole individual person that we're concerned about. And that's kind of the way I feel like I want to create that environment. That's what I believe is the positive about my class. I want everybody to win, everybody to be successful, and no matter what they choose to do, that's the kind of environment I want to create for my students.
Thanks, Travis, for sharing that. Jake, before we go to you, what I've heard so far, all of you to say is getting them to understand that quality job, and Deirdre talked about this as well, is having doing a quality job equals quantity. Either that means more work, more patience, more money. Yeah, so about that quality. I appreciate you sharing that, everyone. Jake, wrap us up. What's your thoughts on this, on most successful approach to student engagement in your instruction?
Yeah, so I have three things I feel like are pretty vital to creating my classroom culture. So number one, pretty much every class I open with some type of game. Now, typically it is completely unrelated to the curriculum. It may be a Kahoot. It may be so Google has this thing called Quick Draw, and it basically is like Pictionary, where you draw something on the smartboard and then Google like guesses what you're drawing. Sometimes, like last year, I brought my golf putter, and some golf balls. And then my son has this little like alligator toy that you put the ball into the alligator. And anyways, I just did that at the beginning of the class for like 5 minutes. They loved it. And part of that is just so that, especially with Algebra 2, there are very few people that really get excited about going to Algebra 2 class. But I want to start the class with them smiling, with them doing something nice. And it also typically will relax them. So even if they're anxious about their grade or what happened before they got to my class, when they come in and we're playing a game, they can kind of relax. And then I'm able to then kind of gauge where they're at emotionally, mentally that day, able to kind of engage. And they're also able to see, oh, Mr. Thomas, he teaches Algebra 2, but he also likes basketball and golf, and he likes, superhero movies, and he's got a wife and kids. And so it's a way to casually.
Wait, time out. Jake, did you just say you're a real person?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, okay. All right.
Exactly.
Okay.
So anyway, so I do that the first 5 or 10 minutes of each class. Then during instruction, I really try to involve the students in the presentation. So similar to what Dieter does with the hand motions, I just do like a thumbs up, a hands up, thumbs down type thing. And I used to do that after each slide that I go through. And that's just a way for me to check in on every student. Because if I ask a student to, hey, help me solve this problem, usually there's like 2 or 3 students that will try to answer that question for every slide. And the hand motions, as Deidre said, helps the quieter, more reserved ones give some input. And then probably the most effective thing that I've done is I call it making my rounds. And usually there's about anywhere from 15 to 25 minutes of individual study in my especially my Algebra 2 classes, in which the students are working on that day's assignment. And I just go to each and every student and say, how you doing? Need help with anything? And a lot of times they'll say, no, I'm good, or I'm getting it figured out. And that just allows me, and I typically do that 2 or 3 times during the 15 minutes or so. And that just allows me points of contact. And so usually my goal with making my rounds and from start to end is I want to make individual contact, verbally, eye contact at least 3 times. So when they come into my class, I'm going to say their name and I'm going to say hello. When we do the making the rounds, I'm going to ask them how they're doing, let them know that I'm there to help. And then when they say goodbye, I'm going to say, goodbye, Eric. Goodbye, Elijah. I'm so glad you were here today. Hope you have a good day, something like that. And so from start to finish, they know Mr. Thomas is there, Mr. Thomas is prepared, and Mr. Thomas cares. So.
Yeah, thanks, Jake. So I wrote down a few notes on that. Again, this idea of student-led, what we call instructional-wise, build for transfer, relate to real life. Trust is the foundation and the opportunity to use the Marzano skill. And then asking, what do you want to learn? And given that mild pressure. Model the real world. Physical movement is very important in the classroom. That stimulating the mind and movement is so very important. And to even do that in a environment such as this, online environment, and taking time to do that. What works for that student? 50 students may mean 50 different styles of engagement. And what a great reminder for us. Critical thinkers and problem solvers. How do you start and to analyze that situation? And then the reminder of get a hook or an icebreaker to start our class. Rounding, actually, if you're not familiar with what Jake talked about, that's actually called rounding. Student education actually has quite a bit of information on that, on rounding. And then know your students is so very important. Travis, Deirdre, Zach, Allison, Jake, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Your passion for education, your passion for your subject, your passion for your students. I hope this was good for everyone, and an opportunity and reminder to be able to have some more tools in our toolboxes. We got some real good nuggets today. That flip grid is a good tool if you haven't used that. Also reminders of how we can do adult education or even high school education in this new environment that we're living in. So thank you so much to this group for getting together and to sharing with us and being vulnerable and out there and sharing. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for our teachers, instructors, and joining us today in this discussion. And I hope that you found it to be as interesting as I did and being able to get some nuggets today. Just as a reminder, as we are wrapping this up, this session in closing, is that your first breakout session starts at 10:25. And so just a reminder, your first breakout session starts at 10:25. Have a wonderful day. Hey, this group right here proved that it is a great day to be at Metro Tech. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you. Bye-bye.